What's up guys, it's Alec Torelli, and today I want to talk to you about one of the biggest contributing factors to my success in my poker career and some of the business endeavors I've pursued in my marketing company as well throughout my life. This is an idea that I came up with as a reflection on an article that I read by Rajat Mishra on LinkedIn. He's the vice president of Cisco, and we had a conversation the other day, and he told me about an article he wrote that he thought could relate to poker. So I wanted to elaborate it here on a video, and it was really an extremely brilliant article. I really encourage you to read it. I put the link below this video as well. The summary is this. He tried to examine where businesses ultimately had the determining factor of their success. And he cites a study that tries to extrapolate which variable contributes more to the success of the business over the long term. There were two things they tried to account for. One is ideas of where to play, in other words, which market to compete in. And the second variable was how to play, strategy and tactical things to increase dominance within a given market. The study was very prominent, and it found that with a measure of 4 to 1, 400% more likely to have success if you focus on where to play versus how to play. Example of where to play is, he uses the example in his article, so I'm paraphrasing here, Coca-Cola, right? They decide to create a new product like coconut water. That is a decision on where to play. They decide to compete, using their brand to compete in a different market. How to play is thinking about how to increase the sales of Coca-Cola through more strategic and tactical branding through their current line of work, right? So these are two different ways of approaching business and success, right? And the same factors can be applied in my poker career, which I'm going to share with you some of my personal experiences as to why I think this is an absolutely brilliant way to approach business, life, and poker. He also uses another example that I thought was really telling. Being at the right place at the right time has a much bigger impact on one's success than perhaps the talent that they have. Why? Because if you have a mediocre level of talent, but you're in an industry that's extremely ripe, immature, and inefficient, it's much easier to be successful. Think about the original people that mined for gold. Or he told me on the phone, I don't know if he talked this about in the article, but people that were in the real estate business in Dubai 15 years ago. They didn't have to be the best real estate agents in the world. They simply had to be competing in Dubai with, of course they had to have some talent, but the talent that they had wasn't as important as the fact that they were in the right place at the right time. The opposite of this example is being one of the best people in the wrong industry. And he uses in his article the semiconductor industry. Even the most competitive and the best people in that industry don't show extremely high profit margins because the industry is saturated and the profit margins are low. The same is true with the restaurant industry, with maybe a few exceptions. The profit margins are very small. And the airline industry, even the best airlines in the world, struggle to beat something like 1 or 2 or 3 points per year. So you can see how being at the right place at the right time is one of the most important keys to your success. I'll never forget a quote I heard at a marketing conference in Barcelona by one of the biggest affiliates in the world. He said, there are 2 ways that I made money in my life as an affiliate. One is I was the best, and the second is being the first. And he says it's much easier to be the first than it is to be the best. I don't want anyone to take away from this video that you should not strive to be the absolute best that you can. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I think that's extremely, extremely important. But I think being the first allows you to be the best. And it's a lot easier in that way if you approach it in that order, right? So let me give you a few examples throughout my poker career that I hope can shed light on this, and I hope you can take something away from. When I first started playing poker, I was playing home games with friends, but very shortly after that I started playing online poker. It was something like 2005 when I turned 18. Was I the best player in the world? Not at all. In fact, my talent was a bit not really great at that point. And of course, the industry was so much easier that you didn't have to have a lot of talent in order to compete. Now the online poker market has become very, very saturated, and you have to have an extreme amount of talent to make a small amount of money. That's what happens when markets get to market efficiency. Poker followed this sort of exponential growth trend where the talent increased exponentially over a very short period of time as the market went from inefficient to saturated and mature. But in 2005, when I started playing online poker, anyone with basic concept of, not even hand ranges, just a basic concept of poker math and a little bit of discipline and that didn't tilt could make a fortune. So I was at the right place at the right time. I was one of the first, and I wasn't the best, but I was one of the first, and I made a lot of money. The same happened when I became an affiliate for poker sites. I was one of the first affiliates for Party Poker, and I made a lot of money signing people up to play on the poker site. It was very much the Wild West of online marketing and affiliate days. And to give you an example of how easy it was to make money, I would get paid $300 per player that I brought to the site. But I could simply transfer $50 of my own money to a new player to incentivize them to sign up. Who's not going to make a new account on a poker site for $50 free? Everyone in the world will, right? But I could send them $50 free and they would pay me $300 at the end of the month, essentially netting me $250. So you can see how the numbers work very, very well in my favor, and it's very easy to sign people up with this method. What made it even easier was the ridiculously loose marketing regulations that they had at the time. I could take the link to my sign-up page and copy and paste it into the chat of the free money tables on poker, saying something like, get $50 free, like want to play for real money? Get $50 free, click this link. They would click, sign up, and I would get paid. It was very, very easy. Marketing isn't that way today. The online marketing space is very saturated, and you have to be very, very good to make a lot of money signing people up for poker sites, right? Or any form of affiliate marketing on the internet. It's very competitive nowadays. The biggest example of this in my career was probably when I decided to move out to Macau in 2012. At that point, I had a decade of experience in poker, and so I was always sort of ahead of the curve, but being able to play in industries where it was very inefficient allowed me to be what I feel like became one of the best. The reason I could do this was because it's so much easier to stay ahead of the curve once you get ahead of the curve. So competing in an industry that was very inefficient and was easy allowed me to rise to the top of that industry. And once you're at the top, it's easier to stay there, right? It's hard to get rich, it's easier to stay rich, right? You have more opportunities when you're at the top of an industry because you have access to everybody at the top. You're also more confident, you're beating other people, you have more experience, and you just have more tools and resources at your disposal that allow you to stay there. So once I got to the top of an easy market where I could exploit, I realized, this is going to change and it's not going to be this way forever. So I had to compete at a more difficult market as online poker became more and more saturated. And then when poker got banned in the US and then online poker sort of dried up, I was at a spot where I had to move to Vegas to play poker and then ultimately go to Macau. Eventually though, you're at a spot where you either have to sink or swim, right? So you could always look for new efficiencies in markets, but at some point you have to strive to improve your skill set and grow that skill set to become one of the best at what you decide to do. So Macau was a great teacher for me because while I was one of the first players to be there, I realized that Macau was going to follow the same progression of online poker, and it was become very, very saturated very, very quickly. There simply was too big of a mismatch between the opportunity and the talent. There was too much money to be made and not enough people making it, and anytime there's an inefficiency in economics, it's not going to last very, very long, just like the gold rush in San Francisco, right? So I was doing my best to get ahead of the curve while I was first out there, but then when a lot of the best players in the world started coming from the UK, Scandinavia, the US, all over the world, it allowed me to compete with them from a place of already being a little bit ahead, right? I was more comfortable in Macau, it felt like home to me, I knew the system there, I had a lot of colleagues and friends there, and I was already in tune with the way that poker was played. So starting ahead of the game allowed me to stay ahead of the game, and that really allowed me to not only be in a place where I was one of the first ones there to be able to choose where to play, but then when it came time to figure out how to play, which of course I had years of experience to build up my talent, I also had the experience of being ahead to allow me to stay ahead a lot easier. So I think the key takeaway here is a lot of what was said in the article. Where to play and where you choose to compete is much more important for your success than how to play. At the same time, you can't neglect the talent, and harnessing your skill set and growing your talent is one of the ultimate most important things because nobody could take your talent away from you. Online poker was taken away, Vegas became saturated, Macau's become saturated, but what remains is the fact that I have a skill set that allows me to make a lot of money playing poker. So when the next opportunity arises, I'll have the talent to be able to go there and crush it. So I think starting at a place where you can get ahead of the curve easily, and then developing a skill set from being a big fish in a small pond is a great way to go, whether you're a poker player, you're starting a business, or just looking to compete in a new market. I hope you took something away from this video. Again, I highly encourage you to read that article. It was excellent, very eloquent, well put together, and inspired some thought-provoking conversation like the one in this video here for you. I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel, share it with someone that you think could benefit, and leave me a comment below. Let me know your thoughts, what you'd like to hear more of, how I can improve this channel for you guys going forward. Thanks a lot for your time today. Appreciate your attention, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.